Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This morning I woke up and I saw a sister. She responded to a video that I made a few weeks ago where I discussed female public speakers, about dawah events where men and women are speaking alongside each other, on dawah event flyers where women have their photographs, their faces showing on them. So I wanted to respond to a few of her points because I remember when I did that video, the vast majority of comments were positive. I got a lot of good feedback, but there were some people who I think see things the same way that this sister does. So I think it might be worthwhile to just respond very quickly to some of her points because it's really very simple at the end of the day. It's something that's very simple to respond to. So her first quote, when she began sharing some of her feelings about my video, she says, I quote, "First of all, I want to say as a Muslim woman, my voice belongs to me. It doesn't belong to anyone else. My presence belongs to me, and that is for me to decide how I use that, not for anyone else." So I want to give the sister the benefit of the doubt, but I don't know, with this sort of language, there's only so many ways that I can interpret this. And I guess my response would be that as a Muslim, as somebody who practices Islam, the very meaning of Muslim is somebody who submits to Allah. We are in a state of submitting to Allah, meaning that we don't just follow our desires. We don't just decide for ourselves what's right and what's wrong and how we're going to live. We submit to the fact that Allah created us, Allah sustains us, Allah gave us life, and He's going to cause us to die. He's going to resurrect us and judge us in the hereafter. That is what being a Muslim is all about. And since we acknowledge that and we submit to that, we want to live in accordance to Allah's teachings so that in the hereafter we will be successful and He will give us paradise. That's basically, in a nutshell, what being a Muslim is all about. It's not about us deciding, you know what, I want to dress this way. I want to say that. I want to eat this. It's about us, okay, well, inside the confines of the Sharia, what choices do I have? Now, of course, you have certain choices. Certain things are mubah. You can do it or not do it. It doesn't make a difference. So, for example, if I'm about to eat lunch, do I want to eat a red apple or do I want to eat a green apple? It doesn't matter either way according to the Sharia necessarily about which one I eat. However, you're mentioning your voice. Your voice belongs to you. All right, well, did Allah dictate how we should use our voice? Did He dictate how, specifically, men and women, how we should use our voice when interacting with each other? Did your presence, you said, your presence belongs to you. Did Allah dictate our presence about where we should be, how men and women should interact physically? You know, you're saying that it's for you to decide how you use that, not for anyone else. I don't want to twist your words, but just taking what you said at face value, I think it's not for us to decide. I mean, at the end of the day, we do have the choice to obey Allah or not, but in terms of right and wrong, in terms of Islam, which is the whole point of our discussion, it's not for us to decide, it's for Allah to decide. So we base our lives around the Quran and Sunnah. That's what being a Muslim is all about. Allah also says in the Quran, Surah 9, Ayah 111, "Indeed, Allah has purchased from the believers their lives and their properties. In exchange for that, they will have paradise." So there is a concept in Islam about we are exchanging the life of this world for the life of the hereafter. We are going to give up certain desires we have, certain inclinations we have, because by doing that for the sake of Allah, He will reward us with paradise in the hereafter. Saying that, oh, well, it belongs to me and I get to decide what I want to do with it. I mean, from a human perspective, that may be true, but from an Islamic perspective, that is not our train of thought. That's not our perspective when it comes to life, when it comes to how we want to live and utilize the blessings, the bodies, the voice that Allah gave us. It's about submitting to Him, doing what He commanded of us, avoiding that which He has prohibited in exchange for paradise in the hereafter. That is, I think, overall the summary of where perhaps this conversation should go. That's what it's all about. It's not about how I personally feel, how you personally feel, how any human being personally feels is about the Quran and Sunnah. You do, of course, have to take situations into consideration when passing fatwa and passing legal verdicts and things of that nature. Sometimes there are it's unavoidable that you're going to fall into two things that are disliked, and you have to try to weigh the pros and cons and go with the lesser of two evils, so to speak. This is part of the Sharia, this is part of Islam. So there is that, but at the end of the day, it's all about the Quran and Sunnah, and it's for all of us to submit to that. If we are sincere, if we have ikhlas, it's all about submitting to that. So, and I ask that Allah give us all ikhlas, and that Allah make the truth apparent to us, and that we all submit to that, because that's what being a Muslim is all about. Now, there are a few other things that you mentioned here and there. One that was sort of baffling to me was how offended you were that I used the term women. I mean, this seemed to be a very, very offensive term, and that was something that is just mind-boggling to me, because I didn't know that the term woman or women was disrespectful or belittling or negative. I mean, the video was literally me having a discussion about men and women, which is very appropriate in Islam. Women have certain roles and responsibilities and rights, and the same goes for men. We are different. You said, I quote, as if that somehow makes us different. Men and women are different. I'm not sure what you meant by that, but men and women are different. I'm not saying one is better or worse than the other, but I'm saying that we are different. So I'm not even sure how to respond to that. If you don't like the term woman, if you can tell me how you would prefer to be, how you would prefer I refer to women, sisters, I just don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me, so I apologize for my ignorance in regards to that. Now, just to wrap things up, photos on flyers. Allah has given us a code of conduct, you said. Yes, that is true. So I think what we have to do here is we have to understand the code of conduct that Allah gave us according to the Quran and Sunnah, not according to our own desires. I feel like in the West especially, we are very ignorant when it comes to the Quran and Sunnah. The vast majority of us, we don't even know Arabic, which is the key to knowledge. We don't even have the key to knowledge. So how can we even enter the door? How can we open the door and go in and then learn about the hadith and the tafsir and the books of the ulama and all of these different things, when most of us, we don't have the bare necessities of what we need to understand the deen and pass fatwa and interpret the Quran and the Sunnah and the hadith. So I feel like that is very problematic, and you show a great deal of respect to Suhaib Webb in your video, and I feel like that I think that speaks volumes about why you feel the way that you do. If you take Suhaib Webb as the scholar that you follow, then I think I guess you use him as a proof that you are doing the right thing. You look at how he interacts. You mentioned a story where he spoke at an event and they had a partition up, and you said that had he known that partition was going to be there, he wouldn't have spoke there. And then you also have some of the things I mentioned in my previous video about supporting a sister who did a photo shoot for Playboy, about refusing to speak at an event because women speakers weren't there. So if you're going to take him as the one that you get your deen from, you get Islam from, then I guess that explains a lot. And I think that hopefully that will inspire some of you who do have knowledge of the deen. A lot of my colleagues and friends that I've met in Medina, people who are brilliant, they are very knowledgeable, scholars even. I think that it's time for some of you to start stepping up and giving da'wah and speaking out against some of the mistakes that people like Suhaib Webb have made, because if you don't do it and we don't do it, then people are going to go astray. All due respect to Suhaib Webb, but I don't see how anybody who has some knowledge of the deen, basic knowledge of the deen, could think that these things that he's doing is from Islam and that it's okay. I think that some of these things are very directly instigating a distaste for traditional Islamic values. And I've seen just in my own lifetime how Christians have gone astray because of this sort of ideology. I mean, recently I made videos about stoning, which is throughout the Bible. And, instead of a lot of Christians, for example, understanding that and knowing the tradition that they come from, they have reached a point where they judge the Bible based off of their modern day values. And that's why I think so many people have either completely left Christianity or they have completely changed Christianity to mean something completely different. And to think that Muslims are not in danger of doing the exact same thing, specifically when the Prophet ﷺ told us that we would follow in their footsteps, I think that this is just simply not the case. So I think we need to beware of this. And when we see people who are imams, people who are considered scholars in the West who have large followings, when they make very blatant mistakes and you can see them leading their congregations, in the same footsteps as other groups who have gone astray, I think we need to call that out, and we need more people who are knowledgeable and know the truth to speak up and give da'wah and teach and take on some of these roles, because if there's a void, then something is going to fill it. So that's all I have to say. Jazakumullahu khairan. Allah surely knows best. Thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.